Hey everyone, thank you so much for downloading the ebook Do This, Sell More. It's a collection of 10 very general but important scenarios and situations that I see out there training salespeople every year. And the reason I picked those 10 out of about 100 that I have actually is because you can implement them right now in anything you're doing in your selling situation. So while they're general in nature, they're many times overlooked, but they're easy to implement, and hopefully you get some real value and enjoyment out of that. But I wanted to give you as a thank you an extra bonus for free. And actually what I'm about to show you is the #1 skill set any salesperson can have. And we all know that the ability to ask great questions and to control a conversation is a real key to how you persuade people and really control the sales conversation. But how we do that sometimes gets lost in an actual repeatable skill set. So I'm going to share with you exactly how I train and teach some of my salespeople and some of the salespeople all around the world to ask really, really great questions. And we're going to get into it right now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. It's called the 3-level strategy. And it's very simple in nature. The first thing you start out with is a fact. And what I want you to do when you state a fact, it needs to be inarguable. And what I mean by that is if it's a statistic you use and it's so hard to comprehend that the person you're speaking to say, how can that possibly be? You don't want that to block the thought process of the client. So the fact needs to be, while it can be a good fact, a statistic, something quotable, something obvious. That is my first thing that I mention as a fact. And I just don't want it to be inarguable because it leads into the second piece of this, which is the observation. And what I mean by your observation or your experience, what this key area of the questioning strategy does is now I'm able to influence the thought process of the prospect. I'm going to start to mention things that steer their brain to think towards what I want them to be perceiving the question as. And then you hit them with what we call a deficit question. A deficit question, the main key to a deficit question is make the client or prospect uncomfortable in making a decision without you. And there's a couple other elements, and I have a checklist for it. Does it position you as a problem solver? Does it introduce a new idea? Does it increase your credibility? Does it decrease the credibility of your competitor? And so all these elements come into what we call deficit question, and the definition of deficit, leaving them feeling a little bit worse about their situation and not better after they talk to you. It's very contradictory to how we usually want to be perceived in a selling conversation. But when I'm talking to most prospects, I don't want them to feel so good after they get done talking to me. And most people think that's insane. That's crazy. But actually, if they feel better after they talk to me, they don't need me as much. So let me give you an example of how I use this. I sell and work with a lot of my clients on talent assessments. And I know that most of the larger organizations I work with are using some sort of talent assessment, but they don't use additional sciences and to the depth that I do to get the results that I actually get. So here's how it works, and I'll walk you right through it in real time. So here we go. Say fact. Most organizations use some sort of talent assessment. Oh, get back there. There's your fact. Inarguable. It's fair enough. But from my experience, that's either DISC or some sort of single science assessment, and it gets you, the numbers have shown about 60% success rate in that process. But they haven't added extra sciences that we've come across over the years, such as driving forces, emotional intelligence, things that take that number from 60% in some cases now over 90% success rate in talent acquisition and retention. How have your talent acquisition's numbers improved with any adjustments to your assessment strategy? Whoa. Now, when I ask that question, I get two types of answers. One, we're not using any assessments. Perfect. Two, well, we're not getting anywhere near those numbers. I can tack on questions. How do your numbers rank up to the numbers I just threw out at you? 60 to 90%. And I'm telling them on the low end, it's 60%. Most people aren't actually achieving that type retention and success on hiring the right people. So this really builds into a conversation I can start to have that creates a level of credibility for me that is beyond what most people start out with. Most salespeople would go in with the knowledge they have. They'd see a situation and say, well, what's your success rate in talent acquisition been? They go, well, 30%. The follow-up question would be, I have assessments. Would you be interested in using it if I can get you over 60%? That's a pretty generic junk question. The way I position this now, it leads them to think, man, by you bringing up these facts and these observations and then the killer deficit question, you must know how to fix me. And that's the key. I'll give you one more example of how I used it when I used to sell swimming pools. I used to be in the swimming pool business. I sold expensive pools, anywhere from 30 grand to my biggest pool was a $120,000 swimming pool. And I'd use the same process. In fact, most people can build a really nice pool. Inarguable. But what I find is that while we focus on the design elements, do you like straight lines, curves, or do you like waterfalls, or what kind of bottom do you want to look like? We never pay attention to what you're going to see from when you're outside of the pool spending the most time in your house, such as, are you going to look at it for the most part from your kitchen, from your back porch, from your living room? Because 70% of the enjoyment of the swimming pool is spent not in it, looking at it. And they don't consider some of the most rudimentary design elements when thinking about that. Tell me, where have you decided to put your primary and secondary focal point? Whoa. Let me tell you what they would say when I ask that question. 100 times out of 100, they'd say, well, I don't know. And now here's the killer. If I was always in competitive situations, there was always multiple people vying for that business. Now, if they came in, and I know that someone had been there before me and designed them a swimming pool, I'd say, well, you had someone come out here and design your pool. Where'd they say they were going to put it? 100 out of 100 would say, well, they didn't. And that's when I would look somewhat incredulous and go, wait a minute. Someone designed you a pool without considering one of the most rudimentary design elements in designing this pool? It's a pretty big decision. How can they not incorporate that? See how that question works? Leaves them uncomfortable in making a decision without me, decreases my competitor's credibility, increases my credibility. I introduce a new idea. All this comes into play, and by using the fact observation, I soften it. I make it a little bit less aggressive, and I make it to where I give the client a little cloud cover for not understanding these design elements. Because in the observation, I said most people don't consider this. So there you go. Nice little strategy. If you can figure this one out, you're going to make a lot of money. Do your research. You want to customize this for your industry, for whatever sector you may be in, for your territory, and go out there and have 5, 10, 15 of these, and you'll make a lot of money. I promise you that. All right, thanks. Enjoy the ebook. Please share it with whoever you want. And follow me, Facebook. LinkedIn are my 2 favorite for content. Twitter, I pretty much hate, but I'm on there every now and then. And Instagram, a little bit more personal. But, hey, I'm okay with letting you in. And I will see you on the flip side. Happy selling.